Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continue today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's the gold standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Thank you for joining us. It's a gold standard radio show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn back together again. Ken, you're looking very dapper today.
Thank you.
Did you take out any leprechauns to get a hold of their gold?
No, but I've been busy. I'm unprepared. I have to be honest with you, Jen, for this show. I've been sidetracked with some investment opportunities in real estate and some business opportunities.
Really? Real estate?
Yeah, do you know any of these areas? Portland, Oregon.
Ooh.
San Francisco, California.
Yeah.
And the latest one, some really great opportunities over in Oakland.
Fantastic.
California. Yeah. So,
I'm sure you can get a real screaming deal. Literally screaming, actually, as you get that deal. Well, today we are going to talk about H.R.7521. That is the imposed TikTok or proposed TikTok ban passed through the House of Representatives with bipartisan support. And it moves on now to the Senate. We're going to draw some correlations between what that ban looks like and maybe your financial freedom and security.
Yeah.
But
I mean, listen, Jen, the people want to hear from you.
Me?
Yeah. Everybody that comes into the office, they're big Jennifer Horn fans.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Jennifer should be governor, you know.
I agree. Of
so
California,
it might happen
Arizona,
for
the world.
anywhere.
Yeah.
What do you think of this TikTok supposed ban? I mean, how does it make you feel? I mean, the people want to hear.
Well, I told you actually, and I've talked about this quite a bit on the radio because at first blush, which is what we consider when we think about these things, it sounds like a great idea when you think, gosh, kids are addicted to TikTok. They're spending a lot of time. We know that TikTok is run by the Chinese Communist Party. We know that they are touching everything that is on your keyboard. You're literally giving control of everything on your cell phone to the Chinese Communist Party on TikTok. It's part of the agreement that you sign to get the app. You're giving away your keystrokes, your location, every bit of information. So that's disturbing. We don't want China to have that. We also don't want China to create a bunch of content and spoon feed our kids since this is their primary source of where they're figuring out what's going on in the world. But at the same time, you have to think about the scary nature of having the American government tell companies who can be in business and who can't, who has to sell, who shouldn't sell. And so if you are really looking at this, I think as a conservative, you have to ask yourself, do we want to centralize one person in the government with the power to choose which companies are winners and which companies are losers? And my answer to that is no. My answer to the TikTok issue is that parents should decide what's appropriate for their kids. Adults should proceed with caution. But when it comes to the power in the government, I don't trust one person, aka the president. And whether that's Joe Biden or President Trump, who I like very much, I don't think one person needs to have the control to decide whether or not a company can stay in business. How about you?
Well, there's a lot of material and a lot of meat in what you just said, for sure. Government shouldn't have that kind of control, for sure. Okay. And dumbing down our young youth. Well, I mean, I think there's plenty of other entities that are taking care of that. I mean, I think it's about control, like you said. You know, it reminds me a lot about the Patriot Act, you know, where you had an event.
9/11.
9/11. And then sending money to terrorist countries, those rules and regulations kind of spill over to other entities, other corporations, other people, and then it becomes a way for us to monitor American citizens.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid, like you said, about control. It's about freedom, okay? And we're obviously a veteran-owned company. We fought for freedom, and now we're fighting for financial privacy and freedom.
Sure.
So when I hear stuff like, well, which people are going to be able to talk about what, we support a lot of independent journalists, independent podcasters that we feel have a message. And we feel that the truth needs to come out about certain things that you're not going to hear about from mainstream media.
That's right.
So how's that going to be for them? are they going to be told what they can and what they can't talk about? That's my fear. So I think it's unacceptable that entities, would have that kind of control or with the stroke of a pen, because who knows, like you said, could it spill over to our money?
Right. And I think
could it spill over to other things about privacy? But I was glad that at least when they asked President Biden about this, how do you feel, President Biden, about what's going on with the TikTok situation? I mean, his answer was pretty clear to me.
That's right.
Absolutely, Joe. Yes. Senator? Yeah.
That's the most vibrant I've heard him sound in a long time.
Well, he has new shoes now. So, I mean, and he almost fell today. I saw him going up the stairs, even with the black
even with the
shoes.
Hokas,
but these are the people that are going to be in charge of making decisions. These are the people that are going to be looked at to say, hey, listen, what are we going to do? And obviously, this is a financial show where we give our opinion on what some people may want to think about. And when it comes to our money, safety, privacy, control, I would say that what's going on with this H.R. 7521 is no different than other bills.
It's a lot about freedom.
It's about freedom and it's about control. And obviously, that's very important when it comes to our money.
I have to say, I don't usually like to make a ton of predictions, but I do think it's going to have a really hard time getting through the Senate. I think you've got some people in the Senate, led by Rand Paul, by the way, who are probably going to question everything that we just did about this bill and what that means for our freedoms. So keep an eye on that one. And always, let us know what you think about this. You can email at MidasGoldGroup.com. You should also go to the website.
I think it's like info@MidasGoldGroup.com.
Sounds right. Info@MidasGoldGroup.com. You can see it there on the website. Plus, you can check out all kinds of content, blogs, podcasts, and, of course, the product lineup at MidasGoldGroup.com. So definitely interested in that because I think that there's going to be a lot of attention as to what goes forward. Joe Biden said he would sign it. You just heard him there. I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah, he said something about Joey and trains and chickens back in Wilmington. So I don't know.
And meeting with President Xi on the Tibetan plain. He likes that one too. He does.
Okay.
He does talk about that.
What an amazing individual.
I know, he really is good. All right, so we'll get back to that in just a few moments. But we talk about
why are we in this mess today,
Well,
Jen?
that's the question. And we talk about how TikTok is a freedom issue.
Right.
Gold, I say, is the answer to your concerns about freedom because it is something that you can hold on to. It's yours. It's away from the system and it protects you. And so the reason that gold has all that value is because our dollar no longer does, right? Back in 1971, and we always start the show talking about this, but President Richard Nixon decided that we didn't have to back our dollar with gold anymore and basically set us on this trail of disaster where our dollar is worth less. Worthless every single day.
Yeah, well, worthless may be something in the future that we really need to be concerned about, know, and I am no longer going to convert the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
He's sounding extra spicy today, I think. Richard Nixon.
He is, but the point is that when we were taken off of the gold standard in 1971, our dollar became fiat. And that means that it's backed by nothing except the trust of the government.
And what do we have in that? Do we have a lot of trust in the government?
I think that it used to be a lot more than it is today, and that's what I would say. I mean, if we just talked realistically about what's going on, even 10, 20, 30 years ago, this is not the country that we've seen. It's changed. We've lost our way. And the money and our debt is a great example of that because a lot of these other countries now are seeing that and they're dumping dollars. They want to distance themselves from our debt. And at the same time, a lot of these other central banks are buying gold.
Right.
So there's too many dollars out there. There's too much risk. There's too much debt. And you have to ask yourself, what's inevitably going to happen? Okay, now, a couple of things are inevitably going to happen. Number one, they keep printing trillions and trillions of dollars, and our money's going to lose significant buying power.
And they're going to keep doing that.
They have to. Yeah. They're going to print more money, okay? It's a fact, okay? We don't like to deal in guarantees, but I can guarantee you that they're eventually going to have to print more money.
Yeah.
The other thing is there's so much risk and leverage and derivatives in the markets and gambling and speculation and bubbles. What if the system collapses? Mm-hmm. What if the entire system collapses? What are you going to do?
Scary.
Concerning the safety of your money? What are you going to do about accessing your money? What are you going to do about being able to actually put your hands on anything? Because when it comes down to it, we just have digits on a screen, or we have paper currency that's acting more and more like monopoly money, and who knows how much it's going to be worth, 5 or 10 years from now. But if we're stuck and there's a collapse, what do we do?
Yeah.
Don't you have to have some protection? Don't you have to have some insurance from those things possibly happening? And that's where kind of gold and precious metals and tangible assets, Jen, comes into play. And there is a big movement right now, a lot with conservative-minded people, where they're distancing themselves from the banking system, from the markets, from paper fiat currency, and they're converting some of those assets, IRAs, old 401ks, savings accounts, whatever, into something they could hold, something that has held its purchasing power over the last 100 years, something that's real money versus fake fiat currency.
This is something you can hold on to. That's why we say it gives you your freedom back, because not only is it this hedge against inflation, hedge against a devalued dollar because it's holding its value, but it's in your possession. You don't have to wait for a bank to give you the money. You don't have to hope that the bank has money in it. You don't have to wait for the government to sign off on it or make some crazy ask if, God forbid, you're in the worst case scenario. This is something that is yours, and it is like an insurance policy.
And they don't have the money, Jen. I mean,
No,
I had
we
to
talk
take
about this all the
$100,000 out of the bank the other day for work.
The property in Oakland.
Well, I had to go to 5 banks.
Yeah.
And
just
I'm
to get
one
the money.
person.
Wow.
So what's going to happen when there's thousands of people that want it? The people have zero chance of getting their money out of the banks when there's going to be a crisis. It's already hard enough now.
So here's what we want you to do. If you've been hearing this program, if you've been thinking about gold and precious metals, don't wait another minute. Get yourself prepared. Take out this insurance policy on the money you've worked so hard to earn. You can do it by calling Midas Gold Group at 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. As we mentioned, you can email us. You can see the blog posts. You can see all the podcasts and all of the products at MidasGoldGroup.com. You can also text message the word gold to 232425, and Midas gets right back to you. And we like to say you can also drop in Thousand Oaks, California, Phoenix, Arizona. Go and see them. 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. More up ahead. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn. It is a Gold Standard Radio Show.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: central bank digital currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications, the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on The Gold Standard. You can create your own gold standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
It's a Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo, Jennifer Horn. We are back together again. And gosh, talking about all sorts of things today. One of the big stories in the last week has been Congress coming together, the House of Representatives passing H.R.7521, which is the TikTok ban. It goes now to the Senate. We were talking about how that correlates, Ken, with really this overview of our financial freedoms. What do we want the government to have control of? And what do we want to be in control of? And that's where gold and precious metals come in, because they are ultimately giving you freedom, bringing you something that's away from the system, that's tangible, that's yours, that's in your possession. if there's a collapse, or in best case scenario, which we know is already happening, as inflation continues to grow, it's this hedge against inflation. What? I know.
What are you talking about?
What? Wait, more student loan debt being paid off? What do you think? Did you hear, by the way?
No.
The train from nowhere in California, that bullet train that a lot of people have spent a lot of time talking about, do you know they want another $135 billion to finish the project? It's like one of these black holes of money that the governments, this time in California, love to just throw cash into. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'd like to know where it's coming from. So we'll see, right?
Right? It's coming from that laser printer on your desk,
yeah, it's going to come from that D word.
Yeah.
Debt. So there you go. Well, I mean, the control aspect, Jen, of our money is very important, and the privacy aspect of our money and financial freedom. Very, very important. But when we talk about gold, inflation is the devaluing of our currency, right? I mean, how could we put it simply? Our currency is dying. The more and more they print it, the less value it has. It's dying.
Right.
Okay?
And we all know it because we feel it when we go places, when we buy the things we used to, and it's much harder to afford the stuff that we used to be able to go and buy, right?
What I'm amazed by, it's either the lying or the stupidity, or maybe both, of what is the cause of all of this.
Right.
So I was glad I ran into a clip over the last couple of days. Corinne Jean-Pierre, is that her name?
That's her name.
Okay.
White House spokesperson.
She did a little short clip, and she explained why we're experiencing some of this inflation. Yes.
Let's take a listen.
And I also want to remind you what caused inflation. We know that inflation was caused by supply chains that broke down because of the pandemic, Russia's war on Ukraine. We know that caused oil prices to skyrocket. Our economy was disrupted by so many ways because of the pandemic. That's what caused inflation. And so because the president took action very early on in his presidency to make sure that Americans got vaccinations and to make sure that we fixed and strengthened the supply chain, he took historic actions on oil so that gas prices could go down. And so we have an unprecedented economic recovery here that is important to note. But I do want to be really, really clear. We have seen inflation go down by 2/3 from its peak.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's still much higher than when Trump was in office.
Has your bills gone down by 2/3 since its peak?
No, absolutely not. And I love how she tries to insinuate that the COVID vaccine is somehow the fix to our inflation problem.
Maybe that's why I'm experiencing inflation, is because I didn't go for the jab.
You have not been vaccinated against inflation.
Maybe
this
that
is the
was
problem.
it. Yeah.
And the other thing that you got to listen to her, and when you just hear the lie after lie after lie, she says that Putin went into Ukraine and that caused a problem. Yeah, it caused a problem. But guess what? Putin went into Ukraine because of all the bad economic stuff that was already going on in our country. It didn't cause it. It was a result of the bad economic landscape.
I don't know. Like I said, is it stupidity or is it just lying on purpose? I
think at this point it is purposeful.
And these people believe this. I'm very convinced, Jen, that President Trump is going to be reelected. And I'm very convinced that the forces that be are going to crash the system and blame him.
Well, they're taking him apart as they can.
So we'll see.
But it's a good warning. I mean, it's a good thing to think about as much as it sounds terrible, because you have to make a plan for yourself.
Well, you just have to ask yourself, well, what if that really does happen?
Yeah.
So are you going to be left high and dry, or are you going to have some protection? Are you going to have some diversification? Are you going to have some distance between yourself and a false flag or some sort of event that's going to throw things into chaos? Or are you just going to be stuck? So I would say you have the ability to make a decision and take control of your situation.
And you can do it now.
Don't be stuck. You have to do it now because, the horror stories, Jen. First of all, when things get really ugly, people aren't going to be able to contact their advisor or their banker, okay? These banks are not going to release funds. You're not going to be able to transfer an IRA or roll over an old 401k. You're not going to be able to go to the bank and pull any money out. You're not going to be able to go on your phone and transfer money to another financial institution. What if we're stuck? And then what if a new system is reset and kind of rolled into a digital system?
Right.
and then we have nowhere else to turn.
And then you've got government oversight, and you have
and
a
then
whole
that
new ton of privacy
right,
issues.
and then that other stuff that you were talking about at the beginning of the show. How much control does the government have? How much privacy do you have? Wouldn't it make sense to kind of distance yourself to a degree from that? For your money, okay? There's other ways to do it too, but for your money, wouldn't it make sense to have something that's going to keep its purchasing power, something that you could hold, something that's tangible, like gold and silver, something that no matter what happens to the system, to your situation, whatever, you could at least get to it. It will at least always be worth something. In my opinion, that's a no-brainer. Now, I don't know if it's being brainwashed, stupidity, just not knowing enough information. I'm praying that people are taking this seriously enough, because when it really gets ugly, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, this is your moment. Take advantage of the situation right now. Call Midas Gold Group, veteran-owned, America First patriots, freedom-loving people who will give you choices when it comes to how to best implement gold and precious metals into your portfolio. 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, or you can always check out MidasGoldGroup.com. That's MidasGoldGroup.com. Now, you said brainwashed and silly, I think is what you said. And I started thinking about Kamala Harris.
Oh, well, she had some comments about inflation and stuff. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. What did good old Kamala have to say?
Let's take a listen.
Every day, Joe Biden and I talk about and work together with our partners, like former leader Hoyer, current leader Hoyer, to lower the cost for the people of our nation, because you are a leader. For working families, we have reduced heating and electricity bills, so folks have more money in their pocket to buy things like school supplies, replace the dishwasher, or take a family vacation.
Wait,
we
do?
She did that? She lowered our utility bills?
My utility bills, I can tell you like a friend, have not been lowered. If anything, my gas bill has gone up, Ken.
Since 1913, Americans have experienced 3,000% inflation, where $1 from 1913 is now worth 3 cents. But Kamala Harris has fixed this with her administration of Joseph Robinette Biden. My insurance bills are higher than where they were 4 years ago.
Yeah.
My food grocery bill is
way
at
high.
least 50% higher than where it was 4 years ago. Gas is still high. Okay?
Yeah.
What are these people talking about? The inflation, first of all, is because of all the debt that's been taken out, because of all the deficit spending that has occurred, because the abnormally low interest rates. The Federal Reserve Bank has purchased assets and put trillions of dollars on their own balance sheet. Does anybody realize what's actually happening? Or is it just, let's just keep lying and lying and lying. Let's create a facade, and hopefully enough people will believe the nonsense and we can just keep control of what's going on. It's total nonsense.
Yeah. It's the ultimate in gaslighting. And I feel like people keep telling us, even when we know that we can feel a difference, when we're spending more, we know what our bills are, but yet you still have our elected leaders saying, no, everything's fine. Keep going. It's great.
And I know that I have a bias.
Yeah.
But it's a conviction.
Totally.
Don't you know that if you had gold in one hand or you had paper bills in another hand, the hand that has the gold in it is going to do much better than the hand that has the paper in it for a variety of reasons? Isn't it that simple?
It seems like it should be. And that's why we continue to talk to you about gold and precious metals each and every week here on the Gold Standard Radio Show. And Ken, they're going to call you. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call this number this week if you need a new gold dealer, or if maybe you're a first timer and you just need to get yourself protected.
Let's go, people.
855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. If you prefer to do your transactions in person, this is what I love about Midas. They're not a call center. You can go see them in Phoenix, Arizona, in Thousand Oaks, California, face to face. You can see this handsome
Get on it, people.
Ken Russo right there. MidasGoldGroup.com, 855-322-4653, GOLD, or you can text the word GOLD to 232425 and Ken, your message. Get on it.
Yeah, get on it.
Come
Protect
on.
some of your money, people.
That's right. And don't wait around until you can't do it anymore. Make sure you get your financial freedom back. 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653 and MidasGoldGroup.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
See you next time.
It's the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.